Motte and Bailey castles were introduced by the Normans in the Middle Ages. The castle consisted of a very steep mound of earth named a motte. It had extremely steep sides and a tower built on top. The motte varied in size from 50 to 100 feet in height and 50 to 300 feet in diameter. The smaller mound was built which served as the foundations of the bailey. The bailey was a defended yard surrounded by a ditch which contained barracks, stables, livestock and other buildings for storing food, weapons and equipment. The entrance to the bailey was through a large wooden gate. Some of these gates had guard houses for improved protection. They were first made with wood, as it made it easy to put up quickly, cheaper than stone, and wood was easy to come by. The process of creating the mounds left a highly convenient defensive ditch at the base of the motte, which surrounded the whole of the bailey. The ditch could then possibly be filled with water to create the earliest form of moat. On top of the motte was a wooden keep or lookout. This was useful, as it made it easier to spot attackers. Placed around the motte and bailey was a wooden fence or palisade. There was also a ditch or a moat surrounding the motte and bailey. This was filled with water and waste. Sometimes there was another moat dug out and filled again to make an outer bailey, as well as an inner bailey. There was a drawbridge at the front of the village, so that any unwanted guest couldn't enter if lowered. Linking the motte and bailey together was another drawbridge. If under attack, the drawbridge could easily be cut down. The amount of people in the castle varied depending on the size and wealth of its owner. Though there would definitely be the lord of the castle and possibly his family, servants, nobles and soldiers, blacksmiths, the stable hands, kitchen staff, cooks and storekeepers, as they were needed to keep the castle running. Stone-keep castles were the ultimate sign of William the Conqueror's power over the English. The use of stone allowed stone keeps to be built in an entirely different way from Motte and Bailey castles. Motte and Bailey castles were built out of weaker wood, and builders were limited to the size and height they could go to. However, with a strong foundation, stone-keep castles could be built high. This gave them the great advantage of visibility, allowing the defenders to see them if any enemy was coming when they were still a distance away, this allowing the castle to get its defences ready. Stone keeps had other defensive mechanisms. Motte and Bailey castles were open to being set on fire. This was possible with stone keeps, but much more difficult to get to keep alight. Whereas Motte and Bailey castles were surrounded by a wooden fence, stone keeps could rely on an outer wall made of stone. Advantages. Stone keep castles don't rot away within a few decades but will last for centuries to come. They don't burn as the castle is made of stone. They are very strong as the stone that the castle is made of are very heavy. Stone keep castles have very high walls, meaning that any attackers that come can't fire arrows over it, but the defenders are able to shoot arrows back over the walls because they are on top of them. The walls are a few metres thick, making it really hard to knock down. They have arrow slits in the walls, which are useful for the defenders to shoot arrows out at the attackers. The drawbridge was usually thick, so the attackers battering ram can't get through. Disadvantages. Although the walls are very high enough for arrows not being able to shoot over, the attackers can still fire rocks, pigs and other missiles over the trebuchet or catapult. The towers are a one-way path up to the top, so if a few attackers are coming up the tower, the defenders don't have anywhere to go. These types of castles are very expensive to build, unlike their previous castles, the Motte and Bailey. Stone-keep castles are very heavy, making them hard to build. Once getting through the drawbridge, there is an open area where all the attacking soldiers could kill the defenders. People can undermine and knock the corners of the castle down. They took a very long time to build. More specialised skills were needed to build the castle. The amount of people varied from castle to castle, but there were definitely the lord and his family, cooks and servants. Concentric castles were built during the reign of Edward I. The idea was to make the new concentric castle even more secure. The keep or main tower at the centre of the castle was the most important building, housed the lord or the king of the castle, his possessions and his family. The stronger central keep or main tower and round or circular shaped keep was introduced. A high wall complete with towers surrounded the keep and the inner bailey. At least one lower outer wall surrounded the inner high wall. Several outer walls and outer bailies were often added. They also added more gatehouses and moats which surrounded the whole concentric castle area. Round keeps or towers were introduced, removing the weak corners of the square keeps, as square keeps caused real problems at the corners of the structure. It was easy to mine underneath a corner. The attackers would dig a tunnel underneath one of the corners. This process was called sapping. The tunnel would be packed with brushwood. The brushwood would be easy to set on fire and the corner would collapse. The structure of the castle would be weakened and the weight of the castle would bring the walls caving in and the whole castle would collapse. Moats were added which surrounded the whole concentric castle complex. Some were up to 30 feet deep. Moats could be filled with wooden stacks or water. Filling a moat with water would reduce the risk of tunnelling and potential fires. Concentric castles were extremely expensive to build. The loss of a concentric castle would have been disastrous for the owner. They required a lot of men and resources to build. Huge varieties of skill were required to build concentric castles. A concentric castle could take several years to complete. Siege warfare was applied when trying to take a concentric castle. Castle walls would fall due to siege engines such as the ballista and the trebuchet. Concentric castles built inland ran the risk of being starved into submission.